our web audience. We let them know we'll be starting right at noon. So I'm Dean Bickerton, the president of the New Orleans ISA section. Welcome to our kickoff meeting for the 2016-17 ISA year. And we did change some things up this year, so we are doing lunch meetings now, as you can tell. Here in the room with me, we've got probably 15 people or so came in and joined us for lunch. Out on the web, we probably have another 5 or 6 that have logged in. And we'll also be recording and archiving this session. So if people missed it live and want to see it later, they can watch the archive. If they just want to pull down the PowerPoint presentation and use the hyperlinks on the PowerPoint, those will be archived on our website as well. So we'll get started here with the presentation. So again, this is our first members meeting. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to take a look at our website, the NewOrleansISA.org website. Wayne's been doing a real good job with keeping that up to date. So we're going to ask that people go to the website, use the website to determine when the next meeting occurs. We're shooting for the first Tuesday of each month. We're going the whole year now, so we've got every Tuesday lined out from here all the way through August of next year lined up. And we're asking for sponsors to come in and sponsor meetings like we're doing here today. And so a sponsor would come in, would provide lunch, and also would do the presentation as well. Or you could have, maybe you want to provide lunch, but you want to have an end user sponsor. You want to sponsor their presentation. You could do that as well. So we're pretty flexible with that. So just wanted to start the meeting. We also want to start meetings out just talking a little bit about the section and current events before we get into the technical topic. So first off, we are in the middle of our sponsorship drive right now. So the month of September will be our sponsorship drive. So we're trying to renew all the existing sponsors that we've had and add in new sponsors. So we did add a few new sponsors this year. Arthur Zadaran, who's been a speaker of ours many times, ArtZat Consulting, he signed up. Process Solutions, a distributor out of Houston, they signed up. And United Electric Controls, that does instrumentation, they've signed up as a sponsor as well. We've got Petrotech and Reynolds Company that have re-upped, and we're working with everybody else to re-up that were there. So here's the link to the sponsor page. So if you want to become a sponsor, just go to our website, the NewOrleansISA.org website, and click on the sponsor link, and we've got a link for PayPal to pay your $150, and that gets you an annual sponsorship, and your logo will be presented at all our meetings, and you'll have first dibs at doing one of these technical presentations if you like. Upcoming community events, Wayne does a good job of keeping those on our page as well. So if you go to our website and go to the community tab, it'll list out all the different events that are going on. So just a few of note that are coming up here pretty soon. There's UNO Career Fair on Tuesday, September 26th. There's a STEM Fest activity for families. That's being held on September 30th, and now it's at the I think it's at the Sports Complex on Airline Drive, where there's information there. And then a Manufacturing Day event at Tulane to talk about manufacturing to young kids. And actually, someone that's in the room right now, Diane Dennison, Dennison Consulting, they've are kind of kicking that event off at Tulane. Other announcements. The September Society Leaders elections are going on right now. So right now, as an ISA member, you can cast your vote for the Society Leaders. So just go to ISA's website, or you can hit that link, the direct vote link right there, and you can vote for the people that will be leading the section at the high level society. So it takes you just a couple minutes to do it. I would recommend everybody go through there and get your vote in. ISA Fall Leaders Meeting will be held right now at the Grand Hyatt in Tampa Bay. To be determined, I guess. I don't know how bad Irma ripped through there. But that's in October. And then also in Houston in November, the early part of November, we have the Process Control and Safety Symposium. That is still a go in Houston at the Marriott West Chase. And co-locating with the Process Control and Safety Symposium is also the 63rd International Instrumentation Symposium. And the way they have that worked out is you'll see those dates kind of overlap. So if you attend the Process Control and Safety Symposium and also want to attend the Instrumentation Symposium, you can just pay an extra $100 and you can have access to both venues there. So all the information is also on the website. So, and then also with the Hurricane Harvey, ripping through, devastating Houston, Irma now, coming through, wreaking havoc on Florida. ISA does have on their page a place where you can go. So a lot of you in this room obviously been through Katrina and are helping out already. So, but if you were looking for some way to help out, ISA is promoting Red Cross as a way to donate. So there is information on ISA's website about who you can go to donate or help out. Okay, so and again, as I mentioned, so what we're doing now with the meetings this year is we're asking for sponsors to sponsor the meeting. So a sponsor would bring in the food and then have the presenter. So meeting sponsor for this meeting is the company I work for, the Reynolds Company. It's for the local Rockwell Automation Allen Bradley distributor. And so as a sponsor, you get a few minutes to give a little tabletop or talk a little bit about your products, and then we go into the presentation. So since our topic is HMI, I just want to talk a little bit about HMI. We're represented for Rockwell Automation products. HMI products would consist of FactoryTalk View, both Station Edition and the Distributed Edition, which is client-server, clients and multi-client, multi-servers, whether they're thick clients or thin clients. We have machine-based HMI, so panel views, and also Machine Edition running on a PC is our machine operator interfaces. We have a web interface through Viewpoint, so a web client can view screens coming from a PC-based HMI and machine-based HMI over a zero administration client on a web. And what you may not be aware of is Rockwell Automation recently purchased Thin Manager. So Thin Manager is also part of our portfolio, adding to a way to manage a distributed application using Thin Manager. So that's the software side. We also have all the hardware to run the HMIs. We have dedicated graphic terminals, industrial computers, thin clients and monitors. So we have a whole host of these devices from Rockwell. Rockwell doesn't have every device for every purpose, so we have partners like Arista. John Milano's in the audience here, so we have Arista for if you have products that don't fit in this area. You need something maybe a Class 1 Div 1 or Class 1 Div 2 or some other special monitor size. You need a digital display. We have other things besides the Rockwell products. We have partner products as well, so just let us know and we'll try to help you out. All right, so that I'm going to turn into the presentation. We talked about ISA 101, what it is and why it's needed, give you an overview, and then current activities on the standard. So, and before I do that, I'm going to go into some acknowledgments. This is the slide deck that I've got a lot of it that I pulled together from two of the co-chairs for the standard. A guy named Greg Lehman, who's with AECOM out of Denver, and Maurice Wilkins, who works for Yokogawa. So those are the two co-chairs of the ISA 101 standard, and they provided a lot of this information. So what we're going to talk about today is just kind of the evolution of HMIs in general. We'll talk specifically about the ISA 101 standard, which is also an ANSI standard as well. So when ISA has a standard, they also submit those to the American National Standards Institute, and so the ISA standards are also ANSI standards. And this is the case here with this particular standard. We'll talk about the 101 standard and what it contains, and like I said, give you an idea of some current activities going on with some of the working groups associated with the standard, and things that those people are working on. And then I'll end with some HMI examples, so there'll be some things that are best practices, recommended practices that you'll see. So again, kind of the evolution, operator interfaces have changed quite a bit from the days when you had your plant modeled out with discrete devices on a board and kind of a ID representation of your plant with discrete devices for every single component. The move from that towards the PCs and screens with information. Problem was we kind of took some of the old things that we were doing with our old discrete devices and replicated those on the PCs, which may not be the best way to communicate the information that an operator needs to get their job done. So as a result, there are some bad practices out there with HMI displays, and we had Paul Gruen come and talk a couple years ago about the good, the bad, and ugly of HMI displays, and there's a lot of that out there of just a lot of information on the screen, P&ID representations of the plant, but are you really, if you look at it, are you really giving the operator what the operator needs to find out if something's wrong, address it, or is the information, is it useful? If it's not useful to the operator, then it needs to be represented a different way. So in a sea of data, you've got to be able to go and make split-second decisions to figure out where is the anomaly. So you see this picture here, you can't really determine where the anomaly is. Well, it's this guy up here. So you got one guy out of step with the whole group here, but you couldn't pick that out just with all that data. So you have to have a way to represent it to make it jump out of the operator. So again, try operating the plant the same way. You don't drive your car this way. You don't have on your display of your car, you don't have a picture of your car and a tire pressure indicator and a speedometer indicator and all these little things. You have a dashboard that gives you gauges and to tell you really where you are and kind of where you need to be. So you don't need a picture of your plant to operate your plant. And then this poor guy, I think every presentation I've ever seen on how not to do HMI has had this particular picture in it. So that poor fellow that did that, I feel sorry for him. He's legendary. So you have that one. And then when HMIs don't give the operators the things they need to take action, disasters happen. So BP Texas City 2005 as an example. A lot of that was put on operator fatigue and HMI, and not getting the information was there on the HMI for the operator to act on, but the operator didn't act on it. And if the HMI had been designed differently, possibly could have helped. I mean, there are a lot of factors that compounded the problem here, but HMI was one of the factors. So the ISA 101 committee was formed in 2006 to establish the standards, to come up with recommended practices, technical reports for designing and implementing HMIs, and so they were formed in 2006. The standard was finally ratified, published in 2015. So 9-year endeavor to birth a standard and get that out the door. So it was approved in July 9th, 2015, and then, as mentioned, adopted by ANSI as well. So that's one of those dual ANSI ISA standards. The committee is made up of 310 members, good mix of producers, end users, systems integrators, and people from academia and worldwide contributors to the standard. So the purpose of the standard is to address the design and implementation and maintenance of HMIs. So that's one thing that's a little interesting with standards. The standards, and you'll see this on the bottom, standards are the what. So they tell you what you need to do. They don't tell you how you need to do it. So the how comes out when you start seeing these technical reports from the standards, so the TRs or RPs, the recommended practices. Those tell you the how. Standard itself just kind of tells you the what. So some of the standard is, it's a lot of its language, it's a lot of its glossary of this is what we call things, and this is what you should do. And they don't tell you how to do it, but they'll just kind of give you the framework for what should be done. But the onus is on you to kind of figure out how you're going to implement that. The goal here is really to improve the user's ability to detect and diagnose abnormal situations, and they also looked at HMI holistically. So instead of just looking at the display and the objects on the display, they looked at everything. So they cover human factors, they cover console layout, how many consoles, and position of the consoles, and the height of the console, all those lighting in the room that the operators are in. So kind of looking at the whole thing holistically of someone that's got to live there and work a full shift, looking at these HMI graphics all day long. So the standard did address the safety, quality, and productivity. It does a good job of documenting design practices. The standard's all about kind of the life cycle of an HMI and the kind of the maintenance of how you keep your HMI up to date. It's the initial offering, they excluded devices, so they excluded your tablets and phones initially. But you'll see later in the presentation, there's a working group now that's actually been formed to address specifically mobile devices as a technical report. And another thing, so the standard itself cannot recommend the what. Again, it's the the how. The standard is the what. It can't recommend how you do it. So you won't see references to high performance HMI, the PAS's document, or you won't see references to the ASM guidelines, because those are telling you how to do it. But those are obviously things that a lot of people are utilizing to come up with best practices for how to make an HMI look right and operate right for someone. Okay, so who cares about standards? Really everybody, the end users who have the operators that need to run efficiently and safely these plants. Integrators and designers and engineers obviously need standards because they've got to design and build for the client for that safe operation. And then suppliers care as well. People that build the software and hardware to run the HMIs need to make sure that they have the capability in the hardware and the functions in the software to support safe and efficient operation for users. So here's the standards committee, and just kind of how the standards broken down. So this slide kind of does two things for us. It shows the clauses that are in the standard, and it shows the leaders for those different clauses. So that's pretty much the table of contents for the standard right there. So you have kind of the introduction section. They define the scope. They talk about references. So they make references to other ISA standards and ASA standards that are related to ISA 101. They have a definition section. They go into HMI system management. They talk about the human factors, as I mentioned. They define the various display styles. So general overview displays, pop-up displays, the different display types are defined in the standard. Talk about user interaction. They gave some things about performance. So how many clicks does it take you to get to this type of screen? How fast should this screen pull up? So those are performance factors. Again, it tells you what those performance factors are, but it doesn't tell you how to do them. But it gives you examples. There is a working group that's just working on performance as a technical report that will tell you, hey, based on studies, this is the best recommended practice for the amount of time it takes for this type of display to call up, or you need to be able to get from this type of display to this type of display in 2 clicks or 1 click. So those definitions are going to come out as part of these technical reports. And then there's a documentation and training section. Okay. So let's go into ISA 101 specifically. So when I look at standards, and what I do is I pull them up in a PDF and I hit the Control F button and I start searching for all the shalls, because you're going to have shalls and you're going to have shoulds, right? So I look for all the shalls to see, okay, what does this thing tell me I have to do? And then you look at some of the shoulds. That's just one of the ways I look at it. So it's interesting that there weren't a ton of shalls in this thing, but many of the shalls revolved around you need to have a life cycle for your HMI. It's got to be defined, and you should have a management of change for your HMI. So you shall have a life cycle, and I'll show you a picture of a life cycle. This thing talks about an HMI toolkit, we'll talk about as well. So that there's a design philosophy that drives a style guide, which drives a toolkit, and it says you should have shall have an HMI toolkit. So a lot of it's about management of change. And remember, I went to a fall leaders meeting before the standard came out, and I was talking to one of the guys that's on the standard, guy named Dale Reed, and I was asking about it. I said, yes, it's real exciting what you're doing with all the ISA 101 and the HMI, and I'm curious to see what kind of recommended practices you're going to be delivering with this? And he said, yeah, well, you're not going to get it. It's a lifecycle document. Again, it tells you the how, not the why. So it's going to tell you more about the things you should do, but not how to do them. And the life cycle is a huge piece of what's in here. Other shall statements are around the design side of things. So it's a design that shall support the user's primary tasks for monitoring control. So again, that's pretty simple statement is in that the person you're building this thing for, the user, should be able to use it to monitor and control their process. And then this is a pretty good one here too. The following general principles shall be considered during the HMI design. That it needs to be an effective tool for safe and efficient control of the process. It should help early detection, diagnosis, and proper response to abnormal situations. So an abnormal situation should pop right out of that chip. It should be structured to aid the operators to prioritize the response. So I mean, you should be able to kind of prioritize what's the most important thing you need to do based off of what the HMI is telling you, and then go do it. And then failure to display items or on display are immediately apparent to the operator. So the standard then goes into basic definitions, and it defines very mundane things that we all know. Okay, here's a console, this is an operator station, this is a monitor, a keyboard, pop-up, an element. So there's some very basic definitions, but as all standards, that's one common thing with standards is you got to get the language down so everybody's on the same page and talking the same lingo. So it's understandable as you go to management and talk to them about what you need to get for funding for your project, and you're all on the same page. But there was one definition in there that I'm going to call the word of the day, which I really liked. So there was one definition that's in the glossary called salience. So salience, they define it as the distinctiveness, prominence, obviousness, or conspicuousness of a graphic symbol or another part of the display for the purpose of quickly drawing operators' attention. So, and then that word salience is used a few times through the standard. So they talk about it in an area of the standard on situational awareness, where the if your process is deviating from expected values, then there should be visual or audible signals that pop right out to kind of tell you that that you're in an abnormal situation. They talk about it again when they talk about background and foreground colors and interactions. They talk about that the background should be very unsaturated and neutral colors, so that the foreground items kind of pop right off of it. And then if you have to put information that someone needs to act on, then the graphic object should really pop off that background. They also talk about appropriate use of salience for error messages, so making sure that the error messages also pop right out of the operator so they know clearly what they need to do. And I'll show you some examples of this. So again, the document is a life cycle, so this is what the life cycle looks like, and this is the life cycle that's defined in the standard. So the way it works is that you have there's two entry points into the life cycle. One is brand new system that you're designing from scratch, or a major overhaul in the system. So you're going to gut an old console and bring in a new system. So that would be one entry point. The other entry point is you've got a system up and running, and you're either going to create a new display or you're going to make changes to your existing display. So those are the two entry points to the life cycle. And we'll go through the various elements here. So these 4 boxes here are these items here. So you have system standards. Those are the documents that set the foundation for the HMI design. You have the design itself. So design here, that's going to be the user functional requirements, the console design, the HMI design, the display design. Those are the pieces that are going to live inside of the design area. Then implementation is how you're going to create the HMI for that target platform and hardware. So that's here. Here's the implement side. So you build displays, build the console, test, train, commission, qualify, and then the last piece, operate, is you operating and maintaining that HMI. Okay. So pieces there are it's the HMI in service, being maintained, or it's being decommissioned. So here's the system standard stage. So that's that, again, that first block here where we have the philosophy, the style guide, and the toolkits. So what they talk about here is that the first thing you have to do is you have to define an HMI philosophy for your plan. So the objective there is that you're going to give some guiding principles for HMI design, and it's going to be totally independent of vendor platforms. So this is going to be just here's how the HMI needs to operate, and the things that you're going to use as inputs to drive that design philosophy are human factors, engineering guidelines, standards, best practices, functional requirements, and then just past experience. What have you experienced before from your operators? And so what you drive out of that is this HMI philosophy document. So then you take that philosophy document and you can drive these other two documents. So one is a style guide, which kind of goes into is what's the look and feel of the HMI, with background colors and foreground colors and fonts. So that's kind of the style guide. And then you're going to develop a toolkit. So the toolkit is where you start getting vendor specific. So you're going to you might create an object library for vendor X and another object library for vendor Y, and navigation for each of the vendors. So the toolkits is now where you start getting some very specific deliverables that are platform specific. So then the next stage that we work on is the implementation stage. So this is where you're actually coming in and you're going to build the displays. So you build displays. The inputs that you use to build displays are your display design documents, and then of course the outputs are the actual displays and the user documentation that goes along with those displays. Next, you're going to build a console. So again, inputs are console design documents. Outputs are consoles themselves. See testing, commissioning, and training, or those are all the pieces for the implementation stage. Okay. And then when you move into operate, as I mentioned before, there's three stages of operate. It's either in service, it's in maintenance mode, or it's being decommissioned. So those are the various stages for the operate stage. And then there is, if you saw on that screen up here, these continuous work processes kind of run across the whole area. So you have management change, you have audit and validation. So those are horizontal. They just kind of run across these various functions. So management change is occurring all the time. So it's the outputs are changes that are implemented to follow improved work practice for safe, effective operation. You have an audit function, so that you kind of audit based off of is our HMI, does it follow our HMI philosophy, does it follow the style guide we created, does it follow the HMI toolkit we created, so are we using that? And then there's a validation piece as well. Yep, so there's again that life cycle. So in the standard, they again, since it's a standard that defines the what and not the how, they're real careful about not telling you how to do it. But they do give you some examples, and some of the examples you'll see do follow a lot of these recommended practices that you've seen in a lot of these high-performance HMI documents and abnormal situation management documents. So, so one of the things that they define is display styles. So there's various display styles. You have the table, the lists, the spreadsheet lists and rows. You have the process flow diagram, or P&ID process type diagram. Is a display type, not necessarily what you should do, but it's a type, right? So, so that's there. And then other display styles you have are logic monitors, procedurals, so procedure steps, kind of making steps of what someone needs to do as far as the procedure goes. You get a video, you get a health and diagnostic screen, you get alarm lists. There are schematic overviews for the entire plant. Functional overviews that are maybe more of a dashboard, KPI type functions, topology displays that would show topology of the geography of the plant and what's maybe certain key pieces of information you might want to know about certain areas, graphs, and then groupings, instrument groupings, kind of like you did group displays in the old days. Those display types, and then there's levels of display. So the standard defines a level 1, 2, 3, and 4 display, and they go in kind of in order of detail. So level 1 display is a more general detail. Level 2 gets a little more granular. Level 3 gets a little more granular, and level 4 is the most granular. So a level 1 display is one that they define is used not necessarily by an operator, but more of an operator talking to someone else. So an operator talking to engineering, or an operator talking to management, or a manager looking at KPIs. So those are what level 1 displays are. Those are really more for process information, but more process information that you're using to communicate with somebody else that's not the operator. So that's what the purpose of a level 1 display is. A level 2 display is the display that is pretty much the one that you're going to have. If you're an operator, that's the one that's going to be up pretty much all the time. And that is the general plant overview display. And so that's what they call a level 2 display. The level 3 display is you take the general plant overview and you jump into a certain area. That's a level 3. So a level 3 is an area display, and then a level 4 display is a pop-up. So you click on the tank and you get the pop-up for the tank. Then that's a level 4. So again, level 1 least granular to level 4 most zeroed in, most granular type display. And again, as I mentioned, they do talk about performance as part of the standard. They tell you what it is, not how to do it, but they do give you an example here. Here's an idea of an example for HMI performance. So here we have how fast should it take an alarm summary to pop up? 1 second. Alarm list should pop up in 5 seconds in this example. And then they talk about navigation. So they talk about navigation, how you get to various display types and how many clicks it should take to get to that display type. So if you're trying to get to an alarm summary, you should be able to get that from 1 click anywhere, according to this particular person's example. Non-critical display, 3 clicks. Maybe that's not so bad. But I would say most people do say 3 clicks is kind of the general rule of the most number of clicks you want to get to any display. I should have asked this sooner, but has anyone here used the 101 standard? Oh, okay. Maybe I use other things like ASM or high performance. Yeah, okay. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the just kind of the current activities of the ISA 101 group and what they're doing now. So, so they had met at the 2015 Fall Leaders Meeting, and they actually created 3 working groups in 2015. So working group 1 is working on the HMI philosophy and style guide. So again, I can say this over and over again. Standard tells you what you need to do. These guys will tell you an example of how to do it. So they're going to give you some recommended practices, a technical report on here's a good way to do a philosophy and style guide. There's a working group number 2 that's doing a technical report on usability and performance. So that's going to give you those metrics of how fast displays need to open up, how many clicks to get from this type of display to that type of display. So they're working on that piece. And then there's a working group 3 that's set aside for mobile devices. So as I mentioned before, when ISA 101 was first created, mobile devices were kind of off the table. Well, this working group 3 is kind of pulled it back in. So now it's just back on the table, and we're going to address that. So they're going to look at HMI for mobile devices and what's the best way to represent that information for your mobile workers that are using tablets or phones to get information. And there is actually a working group 4, it's on the next slide, that actually got, I'll just talk about that real quick. So there's a working group 4 that just got created in the 2017 Spring Leaders Meeting. And so they'll be meeting here at the fall meeting, and they're going to be working on specifically HMIs for machines. So more the EOI, electronic operator interface, dedicated machine type interfaces, and what those requirements should be as a result of ISA 101. So kind of take the big plant-wide HMI and drive it down to How does that what does that need to look like on a machine? What things apply for machine design? So, so the groups, again, the working groups met at the Spring Leaders meeting in 2017. Working group 1 and 3 are really still kind of getting going. They don't really have anything to show for it yet. They don't have any drafts that are published. Working group 2 that has HMI usability and performance is underway, and they do have a draft. And actually, I'll take that a second here to show you that. So one of the things that I would suggest people do is I would suggest as ISA members get involved with standards, because it's a good way. First off, as a member, you have access to all these standards. So we've talked about that multiple times, but if you go to ISA's website and you go to your members benefit, as a member, and if you're logged in, you can look at any of these ISA ANSI standards. Those are, you can view those at any time. So you can just pull them up, and so here's ISA 101 right here in the browser window, the document viewer that they allow you to look at it. So you can look at that document online, and any ISA standards. You have that ability. ISA 101 here is only 64 pages long, so it's a pretty quick read. It's a good read. So I would recommend, if you're a member, you've got that standard, you take advantage of that and go look at the standard. The other thing I would recommend is, if you're interested in this stuff and you want to learn more about it or participate, you can go to ISA's website and click this Join the Standards Committee button. All you have to do is give them your email address, tell them what standard you're interested in, and they will add you to the list. So I'm on ISA 101 as an information member. So I'm a non-voting member, but because I'm an information member, I see the votes as they come out. I see drafts as they come out. I have access to a SharePoint site, so I'll show what that looks like. So this is the ISA 101 HMI SharePoint site. So this is all the goodies for what the group is working on. So I know this working group number 2 on performance and usability has got some things going on. So I can go to working group number 2, I can go into their drafts folder, and there's the draft of that document right here. I've already got it pulled up here. So here's the draft of the HMI usability and performance document. So it's a 55-page technical report that's got some legs to it. It does a good job of defining. Let's see if I have some good pictures here to show you. So I show you the life cycle. Get here. I always like to go for the pictures. There you go. So here's some of the recommendations on, again, that human factors and laying out a control room. So laying out an area here. So here you see they've referenced the level 1 displays. They've got the large screen in the control room, and it's showing that level 1 display. Again, that level 1 display is information that you want an operator to see in the communication with somebody else. So communication to management, communication engineering, maintenance, that type of thing. So the level 1 display is up there. You got a general purpose PC here to pull up Word, Excel, whatever, do your good stuff. And then they define this from left to right. These other console displays to be level 2, 3, or 4 displays popped up there. And then they have an alarm summary there on the far right. It's up all the time, showing the alarm summary. So they have multiple layouts. So this is a horizontal 6 monitor layout, and then they have a semi-horizontal console layout, and then they have a 2-tier 6 monitor. So again, they're giving a lot of thoughts to different layouts, and this document does go in and talks about the colors used, foreground colors and background colors, and what should a running pump look like. So it shows you here, don't do the pump not running red and pump running green. Do a non-control pump that just kind of fades in the background. If it's running, make it white, and if it stops, make it a dark gray. So they give you those specific recommendations in this report. So again, that's something all you gotta do is join the standard, don't be an informational member, and you get access to these things. So they did reach out to me. They're trying to put together a marketing committee now for ISA 101. So I joined that committee. So so it's part of our role that I might have to help them write some articles to publish some of the magazines just to kind of promote the use of the standard. So I would definitely recommend take advantage of the standards, get involved with standards, and use them. All right, so with that, I'm going to move into some of these examples here. We've got, let me get this going again. So here's a few HMI examples. So one of the things that comes out in a lot of these high-performance HMI documents is kind of moving away from the numeric display into more of a trend-type display. So this is a lot more useful to a person than just the numbers, right? Because if you look at this trend display here, you can see this vessel, and you can see, as you get higher in the vessel, the temperature is lower, it's higher, closer to down here, I guess, to the flame element. So, and then also in this picture, you can see you've got your high and low limits. So you can see these light gray lines on the high side and the light gray line on the low side, or vice versa, excuse me, high side, low side. Then you can also see these shadowed areas where that's the mins and the maxes that point has passed through. So you get a good feel for what does that point do. And this is all if you've seen the Star Trek, Star Trek with the little slider bars, and that's a lot of this stuff looks like is real good, clean HMI design for how you should make this information pop right out of an operator. So I've got a couple of examples of these level 1, level 2, and level 4 displays. So here's a level 1 display. Again, this is the display you would use to communicate information to somebody else. This is the display you're probably going to pop up and be real proud of on your big 60-inch screen that sits on top of it, and that's going to have your KPIs. So this is one just showing a representative screen for an offshore platform with various bar graphs and gauges and trends. So if anything is kind of amiss, and it's going to pop out at you. So there's something going on here with this little yellow X and this ESD station at this location on the platform. So that's something that just jumps right out at you just by looking at this. Here's another level 1 display. So this is showing a plant with 2 reactors here, a couple of compressors, feed system, auxiliary systems, some efficiency information, some emissions information. So various pieces of information all on a common screen that's pretty easily to pull in. These radar charts, these are things that there's a lot of talk of in those on some of the guideline documents on how to use those spider charts or radar charts effectively. Okay, so here's the level 2s. So these are the level 2s. These are the ones that the operators are pretty much going to be looking at all day long, are your level 2s. So this gives you the overview of the plant, and again, this is an example here where you see a vessel with the temperatures done as a trend line inside the vessel. So I was guilty of the old days too, of the vessel that you had exploded out with your little fill line in it, and you go up and down. But the trend line is definitely the way to go on showing information to the user. All right, so here's another level 2 display here. So this one's got, this is the other example we saw with the reactors and the compressors. So you see this reactor, and it's got a trend for purity and a trend for concentration embedded within the reactor itself. And got these, the Star Trek slider bars there, where if everything's good, these things all should be kind of lined up. And so when things kind of get out of tolerance, then your eye gets drawn right away to them. Okay, so here's the level 3 detail. So level 3 was, again, take the overall plant, you dive into a certain area, a certain piece of equipment. That's going to be a level 3. So here on this, just very muted background, and you see a couple yellow pieces of warning information jumping at it right here. So you can easily identify, looking at this, you have 3 things that are in a warning state of some sort that might need to be addressed. And then here's another level 3 example. So again, this is diving in, looking at this is a compressor. So just showing discharge temperature and flow and compressor speed on trend lines here, and then we're looking at speed and then of PSI for stage 1, stage 2, winding temperatures. Those are all shown up there in those bar graphs. All right, so here's a level 4. So level 4, as I mentioned, that's the most granular. That's going to be your pop-up. So that's, you're going to click on something, you're going to pull up, and you're going to get a little more information. So here's a pop-up for a flow indicator, and you'll know right away that we're not actually looking at the process variable. We're looking at the substitute variable that's being injected into the system. So probably bypass or test mode of some sort. It's in operator mode, the operator changing that. So all this stuff kind of jumps right out at you. We're running at up in a warning level. So the substitute process variable that was thrown in there of 20.52 is hitting that high range, and so there's some strong attention that it's not where it needs to be. And let's see here. I have one more. Maybe I don't. This is the oops. Right. So as I mentioned, the standard, you can, if you want to join ISA 101, you said there's 310 people there right now. It's easy to join if you're interested in it. You can join and get access to the drafts. You could participate, give your comments on some of the drafts that they're working on, work with any of the working groups. If you're interested in machine HMI or interested in mobile HMI, or you have something, you've done mobile HMI and you have something to share, please get involved. It's very important for us to be involved in these standards and not just write them, but help drive the standards and contribute to the standards. Do you have any questions? Larry?
Is ISA 101 being written into specifications yet?
I've not seen it yet. Actually, take it back. I have seen it one time so far as a vendor. So I have seen the specification where it came through saying it must meet ISA 101. But I will tell you that user didn't know what they were asking for, which that user didn't know what they were asking for. A lot of times you'll get these things, it must meet this, this, and this, and they're just pulling standards out. But just to be totally honest with you, they asked for it, but I don't think they knew what they were asking for.
Well, why do you say that?
Because if someone says, we just want you to meet ISA 101, and there's no reference anywhere else in the document to anything specific about ISA 101, it kind of tells you that they did a standard grab and just threw it in a requirements document.
So they're not taking it serious.
Right. If somebody was interested and they said, oh, that needs to be in there, and procurement said, okay, yeah, we'll put that in the bid packet. But that particular case, so yeah, I've only seen it once, and it really wasn't a very credible source. Just to be honest with you. What's that?
When do you turn the corner on that? Where people start to use it cited not knowledgeably.
Yeah, I think these technical reports are what's going to start driving that. I mean, and again, this kind of goes back to the conversation I had with one of the guys, Dale Reed, who's one of the voting members. When I talked to him, I said, "Oh, this is great what you're doing." And he goes, "Oh yeah, what's really a lifecycle document?" I was like, "Huh, okay." I wasn't excited about it. I really wanted to know, how should I design my HMI? What objects should I be using? I didn't want to know the what. I wanted to know the how. So I think as these technical reports start coming out, and the technical reports reinforce the standard. So I think, that's my own personal opinion, I think the technical reports will help drive the adoption of the standard. If there's some good meat in those technical reports and some good things that people say, yeah, that's absolutely a great idea, you need to do that, and that'll drive people back to the standard as well.
I guess that's where the marketing.
Yeah, it just seems to be a process. It just seems to be, because I remember going through the whole thing. I remember when ISA 95 came out, which is the whole MES business interactions. That was I as a vendor, I had to sit through like an 8-hour class on ISA 95, and it was just definitions. It was Rev 1. It was just definitions. We're like, okay, what do we do with this? You know, so it just takes time for these things, I think, to get out there and get wheels on them. Start getting people adopting. That's a good question.
Forget the dominating microphone, but that's for our web audience to go to hear the questions as well. So. And for our web audience, if you want to type in the question window, or I can also unmute the line if you want to ask it live.
I do want to take a couple seconds just to go to the website too and show you that we do have our next meeting is we have that set up already. So our next meeting is going to be October 3rd. And again, use the website because we're not going to make this easy on it. It's not going to be first Tuesday at Smiley's every month. So we're moving. We're changing venues. We're doing it at lunchtime, so you got to stay on top of it. So the next meeting will actually be at MS Bimbo's conference room at lunchtime, Tuesday, October 3rd. So we're going to try to keep first Tuesdays. We're going to definitely try to keep doing the lunch thing, and we'll have the web simulcast, and we'll archive that web simulcast. So if you can't attend live or via web, you can always go back and hit the presentation later if you like. You know, we are offering PDHs, so if you need PDHs, if you get that ability when you sign up, you can check the box in you want a PDH, and we'll get you your PDHs as well. But the next meeting, again, October 3rd at Benbo's is TBD right now. We'll get that changed here. Just got confirmation this morning that Benbo said we were clear to use the conference room. It'll be on the application of an integrated safety transmitter and logic solver. So one unit that does both logic solving and still level transmitter functions in a single unit. And that's by one of our new sponsors, so it's United Electric. Yeah. We'll be doing that presentation. Any other questions? All right, so I think we're finishing a little early. It's about 10 till, so still have enough to hit that 50-minute minimum PDH requirements. We're good there. We're legal. But there's no other questions. We'll end it. Any from the web audience? Yeah. Okay. All right, very good. Thank you very much.
All right.